Ancient fingerprint found on clay seal. 2600-year-old seal unearthed on Temple Mount reveals glimpse into First Temple era. In a discovery that bridges archaeology and biblical history, researchers have uncovered a 2600-year-old clay seal impression in Jerusalem, bearing not only an ancient Hebrew inscription but also a fingerprint believed to be from the person who once used it. The find is more than a simple administrative artifact. It may provide a direct link to one of most pivotal and dramatic episodes in the Hebrew Bible. Now let's unpack the layers of this story in our deep dive on the AI podcast.
Imagine holding something in your hand that's nearly 3,000 years old. Not some grand statue, but a tiny piece of clay. And on it, incredibly, you can actually see a fingerprint, a real imprint left by someone in ancient Jerusalem millennia ago. That kind of human connection across all that time, it hits differently, doesn't it? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into one of those really remarkable archaeological finds, a small clay seal. They often call it a bulla. It dates back to the First Temple period in Jerusalem. What makes this one so extraordinary isn't just the ancient Hebrew writing on it, but that amazingly clear fingerprint. So our mission here is to unpack how this single, pretty unassuming artifact might give us actual tangible evidence. Evidence connecting archaeology directly to one of the Bible's most dramatic prophetic warnings, and also the huge reforms of King Josiah. We'll explore what this little piece of clay tells us about daily life back then, about administrative roles, and the really big events that shaped ancient Judah.
And yeah, to guide us through this, we're drawing on quite a bit. We've got the meticulous archaeological findings, especially from the Temple Mount Sifting Project. We also have analysis from archaeologists like Zaki Devira, and of course the specific biblical accounts, mainly the Book of Kings and 2 Chronicles, which really paint this vivid picture of Josiah's time. It's a fascinating mix of history and text. Really brings the era to life.
Okay, so let's really get into the details of this thing. This 2,600-year-old clay seal, where do we start?
Well, basically, it's a tiny piece of hardened clay, about half an inch across, something like that, found right there in Jerusalem. And it's inscribed in ancient Hebrew. It says, belonging to Yediah, son of Asaihu.
And that remarkable detail, the fingerprint, it's preserved right on there. It's more than just an artifact then, isn't it? It feels like this incredibly direct personal link to someone who lived, over 2.5 millennia ago?
Exactly. It was almost certainly Yediah himself, or maybe someone working very closely with him, who pressed their finger into that wet clay. It just makes the past feel incredibly close, intimate.
The dating seems really specific. How did they pin it down like that? And what does that tell us about how it was used?
Well, the style of the script, the letters, and the overall form of the bulla itself, they firmly place it in the late 7th to early 6th century BC.
Okay.
Which is bang on for the First Temple period, and really importantly, the time King Josiah was reigning. And you can see impressions on the back. They show it was definitely tied with a cord. It used to seal something, probably a bag, maybe a storage container. Given the name, likely something pretty important, maybe in the temple, maybe the royal treasury.
Right, and you mentioned archaeologist Zaki Devira said these weren't things used by just anybody.
Exactly. He points out these were not objects used by common people.
So high-ranking officials, then?
Absolutely. Typically used by officials to secure vital supplies. We're talking grain, oil, honey, wine, legumes, that sort of thing. Think of them like ancient security tags showing authority.
And the location.
Yeah.
Finding it in the debris from the Temple Mount itself, that must be a huge piece of the puzzle.
Oh, it's incredibly significant. Finding it right there strongly backs up the idea that this Yediah, son of Asaihu, was involved in managing resources right there, right at the heart of Jerusalem's administrative and religious center.
Makes sense.
And we found other seals nearby, too, like one for Hezliahu, son of Immer, another known temple official from that same time.
Yeah.
It really helps build this picture of, a functioning administration. These seem to be real historical people connected to the temple operations. It feels very tangible.
Okay, so this is where it starts getting really interesting, because if this Yediah on the seal is the son of Asaihu, well, who was Asaiah?
Exactly the question. And the name Asaihu actually appears in the Book of Kings.
What?
Yes, he's named as a trusted servant of King Josiah of Judah. It's not just some random name. It's a specific guy mentioned in a really key biblical story.
Wow. Okay, so King Josiah, late 7th century BC. And his reign was marked by this incredible discovery, right? During temple renovations?
That's the one. They found this long-lost sacred scroll, Sefer HaTorah. Most scholars think it was an early version of the Book of Deuteronomy.
And that scroll contains some pretty heavy stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It laid out these terrifying divine warnings, curses really, for abandoning God's covenant. Things like famine, war, exile, even the complete destruction of the temple. Basically a prophecy of doom.
And the Bible says Josiah was seriously shaken by this.
Profoundly disturbed. His reaction was immediate and quite dramatic.
Tearing his robes.
Right, a sign of deep anguish. And he immediately sent his top officials, including this Azayahu, on a mission
To do what?
to purge Jerusalem, get rid of all the pagan shrines, the idols, the rituals that had crept in. It was a massive religious overhaul driven by this sense of, like, impending disaster.
So, putting it all together, if Yediah on the seal is Asahu's son,
Then it places him smack bang in the middle of this pivotal moment in Judah's history, both religious and political history.
it's not just a name match then.
Not at all. Think about it. You have a physical fingerprint, likely from a high official. His family name shows up in the Bible, specifically tied to King Josiah's biggest reforms. And the fingerprint itself is found right there at the Temple Mount. That convergence of physical evidence, historical timing, location, and the biblical story. That's incredibly rare. That's the real kicker here.
It really does sound like an amazing fit, a direct link to the Bible stories. But are there, archaeological caveats? Any reasons to be cautious about making such a direct connection, especially with texts that might have been written down later?
That's a really important point. And yes, archaeologists are always cautious. The circumstantial evidence is incredibly strong. You've got the name, the date, the location, the function, the seal. It all lines up beautifully. But, proving it beyond any doubt, like finding a signed document, that's just impossible with artifacts this ancient.
Right. No birth certificates from 600 BC.
Exactly. So scholars maintain that caution. But the sheer accumulation of evidence, all these factors pointing the same way, makes the connection very, very plausible.
Rightly plausible, okay.
It's considered one of the strongest pieces of evidence we have.
But despite Josiah's huge reforms, those big prophetic warnings, they still hung over Jerusalem, right?
They did, and not long after Josiah's reign, tragedy struck.
The Babylonians.
Yes. 586 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar invades. The city walls are breached. Solomon's temple is utterly destroyed, and much of the population, particularly the elite and the temple officials, were exiled, taken off to Babylon.
And that sequence of events, it lines up with the scroll's warnings.
Chillingly so. These historical events really fulfilled, in terrifying detail, those dire warnings that had kicked off Josiah's whole religious revolution in the first place.
Wow.
The Bible even mentions the prophetess Huldah, confirming that, despite Josiah's piety, the disaster was coming because of past sins. It was inevitable.
Even though Josiah had tried so hard, tearing down altars to Baal, Asherah, Molech, all those foreign gods, desecrating their shrines, he really went all out.
He absolutely did. He did everything described to try and turn things around.
So for you listening, what does this tiny seal, this fingerprint, really tell us?
Well, it offers this unique window, doesn't it, into the power of prophecy back then, the urgency they felt about reform, and ultimately the tragic downfall of a civilization. It just brings those profound, tumultuous moments in Jerusalem's spiritual and political history right back to life.
It really does. It shows how even the smallest things can carry so much historical weight. It is truly compelling. The name, the time, the context, the location, it all just clicks together, making that connection to the Bible feel so plausible.
And like you said, while archaeologists are rightly cautious about saying absolute proof, this bulla is seen as one of the most compelling bits of physical evidence we have for the historical backdrop of the Bible during that First Temple era.
Absolutely. And as more artifacts like this keep turning up, and they keep opening new windows, they make that distant past feel much more real, much more immediate. It helps us connect with the lives, the decisions, the pressures faced by people who walked those same streets thousands of years ago.
So think about that. A single fingerprint left on clay millennia ago, how it suddenly brings alive not just one person, but a whole era. An era of sweeping religious change, of dire warnings. It reminds us that even the tiniest details can hold these monumental stories.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden stories are still out there, waiting just beneath the surface?
Okay, do you think the fingerprint left on this seal was accidental or intentional or as a mark of power? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.